Hi friend, this is Alex McRobbs, founder of the Mindful Life Practice, and you're listening to the Sober Yoga Girl podcast. I'm a Canadian who moved across the world to the Middle East at age 23 and I never went back. I got sober in 2019 and I now live full-time in Bali, Indonesia. I've made it my mission to help other women around the world stop drinking, start yoga, and change their lives through my online Sober Girls Yoga community. You're not alone, and a sober life can be fun and fulfilling. Let me show you how. Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Sober Yoga Girl. This is Alex here, Alex McRobbs, and I'm really happy to be connecting with all of you today. So today's episode is 7 secrets for staying sober. And I think we all know, everyone who can agree who's listening to this, is that actually quitting drinking is one thing, like putting down the alcohol is one thing. It's what happens next that is challenging. And what happens next is often this huge, almost like an archaeological dig, like a really deep dive into like what is really going on. And if you don't have the courage and the strength to get into that dive and to stick through it and look at everything with curiosity and exploration, then it's likely that you might go back to drinking alcohol, right? You might go back to your vice. So today is 7 secrets for staying sober, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my strategies or my recommendations. Before I get into that, I just want to mention that I'm super excited about the Sober Girls Yoga energy happening right now. So if you are following along, if you're really connected, you might know what happened was I originally created Sober Girls Yoga in 2020, and then I tried to make it more inclusive to everyone by shifting it to Sober Curious Yoga. And as a result, I felt like we lost momentum, we lost connection, we lost that special women's only space. And so there's been a big kind of little dig for me into how I get that back. And the obvious thing seemed to be to bring back Sober Girls Yoga. And so I brought it back last month. I launched this new online platform, launched these new classes for sober girls, and started the Sober Girls Yoga Facebook group. And the momentum has been like absolutely phenomenal. So all this is to say, if you are not yet in the Sober Girls Yoga Facebook group, make sure you get in there. It's a safe space on the internet for sober women to connect without men and share what's going on with them. And coming really soon is going to be a Sober Girls Yoga tour and also Sober Girls Yoga teacher training. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so what are my 7 secrets for staying sober? So I'm going to give you a huge spoiler. The 7 secrets are the 7 chakras. How can the chakras help you stay sober? Or what are the chakras? Might be what you're thinking. So the chakras are these energy centers along the spine. They travel along what yogis call the Sushumna Nadi. Okay, there's 7 chakras. The root chakra, which is at the base of the spine. There is and it's right around the pelvis. There's the sacral chakra, which is right around the navel or below the navel. There's the solar plexus, which is right around the core. There's the heart, which is right around the lungs and the heart. There's the throat chakra, which is at the throat. There's the third eye, ajna, which is in between the eyebrows. And then there is the crown chakra on the crown of the head. Now, when I was first introduced to the chakras, I thought that they were extremely unrelatable. I actually didn't even believe in them. And I want to tell you a bit about my chakra context. So I was raised in a pretty logical, scientific family. Both my parents were environmentalists. My dad was an environmental lawyer. My mom was a environmental, biologist. And so my parents were super science and fact and academic. And there was actually no religion or spirituality as part of my childhood. So I never went to church. I never really had a sense of spirituality other than, my Nana saying grace at the holiday dinners. And when I went on my 200-hour yoga teacher training, so I remember these concepts of spirituality kind of being exposed to me, kind of being suggested to me. And I was like, it's not for me. I'm not going to really listen to it. And so I remember going on my yoga teacher training and my teacher explaining chakras as these spinning orbits or these spinning wheels or these spinning discs within your physical body. And, people would close their eyes and they would say, I'm seeing this yellow disc in my belly. And for me, this just became so unrelatable because I was like, what are these people talking about? Obviously, we don't have chakras in our body. Scientists have never seen chakras. Doctors have never seen chakras. And I just thought it was like the most wild thing that people were paying like hundreds of dollars to do Reiki trainings on these yoga teacher trainings, right? But Reiki trainings to heal something that didn't even exist. I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. That was in 2014. It's 2022. And like basically every program I run is based on the chakras. So I obviously believe in the chakras now. If you're listening to this and you have no yoga background, I just want to tell you what the chakras are. So the chakras, that's a Sanskrit word that means wheel or circle or disc. And life force energy, so our prana or our kundalini, gathers in centers of the subtle body. And the chakras refer to spinning circles of life force energy that are found in our subtle body. A chakra is basically a sphere of energy, and it comes from the nerves and it moves through the spinal column, and it basically receives and expresses all of our life force energy. So these chakras were proposed to me as these ideas of these spinning orbits, and that didn't really resonate with me. And the chakras were not something that I really incorporated into my teaching, didn't really believe in, didn't really teach. And then I'm going to tell you how things changed for me. So, everything talks about when I got sober and met this psychic, right? I talk so much about this psychic who changed my life, Dan, and he's super integrated into the Sober Girls Yoga community. He's like our honorary male member of the community, and he runs events and programs, and a lot of people have done one-on-one sessions with Dan. And Dan said to me when I met him, I'm having this breakdown, he says, you should do Reiki training. And I'm like, I don't really see myself being a Reiki healer. Like, I just don't really believe in this whole idea of like healing the chakras, placing my hands around someone's body, sending energy to my body to heal their body. Like, this just doesn't add up for me or make sense. And he said, you should do it. And this is the first thing that I want to share is that if you are in this space of resistance that I used to be in, I resisted a lot of these aspects of yoga spirituality. If you're in that space of resistance, I'm not saying that you have to believe in this stuff. I'm not pushing it on you. I'm not saying it's mandatory, but my invitation for you is, can you approach it with curiosity, right? Can you open your mind and say, maybe there's something that I can learn from this, right? Maybe there's something here for me to learn. And so that is the way I approach these Reiki trainings that my psychic Dan sent me on. I said, okay, I'm resisting this concept and I don't think it's right for me, but I'm going to be open to it and I'm going to go there and I'm going to get curious. So in the end, I paid a ton of money for my Reiki trainings, probably much more than the people paid on that Mexico yoga retreat way back in the day when I was like, I can't believe these people are paying this much money for Reiki training. The joke was like 7 years later, I probably paid double or triple them to do this training in Dubai. And the training ended and I did some Reiki healing with some people. And I was just like, this still isn't really resonating with me. And so I think I did one session for my friend, Madison. I did one session for my mom, and then I just kind of left it. And then I was going through this phase where I was like really annoyed with Dan the psychic, and I'm like, he's ruining my life. He set me on to do all these things, spend all this money, and these things are going nowhere. I'm not going to be a Reiki healer, blah, blah, blah. But what I took from the Reiki training was that I began to understand the chakras differently. So I had all this resistance to the chakras because they were taught to me as like these spinning orbit wheels in your body that you can see if you close your eyes. And I'm like, I'm not really getting what this is like laying down. And the way I began to understood it when I got deep on my Reiki training and I got into my sobriety and I was looking at it from a different way, which is that the chakra system is basically a model for human development. Okay, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So you start with the root chakra, and that's all about being grounded, safe, and secure. And then you move up to the sacral chakra, and that's all about creativity and going with the flow and letting go. And then you move into the core, the solar plexus, and this is about getting empowered. It's about getting strong. It's learning how to stand up for yourself and fight for what you believe, right? Then we transition into the heart, and this is all about forgiving yourself, forgiving others, learning how to practice empathy, compassion. And then you move up to the throat. And the throat is about speaking your truth and sharing what's on your mind and expression. And then we come into the third eye, which is about your intuition, right? Looking inwards and figuring out what's going on. And then we have the crown, which is about connecting everything and moving you on this journey to enlightenment. So it's exactly like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And once it was explained to me as a theory of development, and I think I got really into this on my Rolf Gates yoga teacher training as well, that I've spoken a lot about. So Rolf Gates does his yoga teacher training, teaches these lesson plans based on the chakras. And I did this with him. And I was like, wow, this is an amazing tool, an amazing concept. So I've been using the chakras as a model for like everything I do. So even the website is set up with the chakras. All of the on-demand Sober Girls yoga classes are based on the chakras. My yoga teacher training is framed on the chakras. My memoir is framed on the chakras. Even my 30-day and 60-day Sober Girls yoga challenge, these are also all framed on the chakras. So what are the chakras? So they're basically these energy centers found in the body along the spine. And basically our chakras can get out of balance. So our chakras collect our energy, and this is basically our energy that we use mentally and physically and spiritually. But basically, as a model for helping us with our health, our integration, our spirituality, our chakras might have different issues, which I'm going to tell you a bit about as we go on in this episode. Now, if they have issues, they might be undeveloped, spinning backward, weakened, or blocked. Like you might hear them described as this. And basically, we have to learn chakra healing practices. And this can be different for everyone. And this is why some people are so into pranayama, which is breath work, asana, which is our yoga practice, aromatherapy, using stones, visualization, sound. Some people might get really interested in listening to a particular sound. Color. I've heard it said that looking at certain colors, the colors that line up with the chakras, can help you balance your chakras. And that's why I actually have some merchandise that is chakra based. And the root chakra shirt says grounded. It's a red long sleeve shirt. I actually was going to put it on to record this episode, and then I realized it's in the laundry. But basically, doing inner work, all these different kinds of things can help heal the chakras. Okay, so you might be saying to Alex, what does this have to do with being sober? And I'm going to tell you a bit about it. So what I have discovered through 2 years of working in sobriety and 3 years being sober myself is that often quitting drinking is just the first part. Or people often say that stopping drinking is actually starting, because this is when you start to finally look at everything. And what I've found over and over again is that people with a drinking problem, it's not usually the alcohol, right? The alcohol isn't the problem. Usually there is something else happening in a person's life that is causing them to drink. Drinking is a coping. Drinking is a symptom of the bigger problem. And if you don't get curious about the bigger problem, then you're probably going to end up drinking again. So I have actually built this tool called the Soul Aligned Framework for Sobriety. And this is very similar to a life balance wheel. If you sign up for my free 7-day Sober Girls Yoga Challenge, you can actually get this wheel as part of your daily workbook and your daily emails that you receive. But basically, when I did life coach training, I was looking at this life balance wheel and I was like, man, there must be a way that you can make this be about yoga. And so what I ended up developing was a wheel where Each chakra is a little pie piece, and the first one is your foundation, which is your relationship with alcohol, because that's where we often start. And then there's these other pieces of it, right? Physical health, that connects to the root chakra. And then there's joy and pleasure and romance, and that relates to the sacral chakra. And then there's your work and finances and physical environment, and that's the core chakra. And then you have friends and family and self-love, and that's the heart chakra. Moving into creativity and authenticity, and that's your throat. And then you have third eye, life purpose. And then you have mental health and spirituality, and that's the crown. Right? So there's all these different things. There's this huge picture of what's happening with us. And we have to get courageous enough to dive into these chakras. And these are the secrets for staying sober. Because if you start looking into this chakra model and start really diving deep and doing the inner work, then that's going to help you to stay sober and heal the parts of you that are not yet healed. So I want to give you a little bit of an overview into the chakras today. And over the next few months, I've actually decided I'm so passionate about the chakras. I'm so interested in them. I want to make them relevant and useful to you that I have actually decided to do kind of a deep dive into the chakras. So every month over the next 7 months, all the podcast episodes are going to be shaped around a certain chakra. And this month, for the month of May, we're going to be looking at the root chakra. But before we do that, I just wanted to kind of explain to you all about the chakras in general. So the first chakra is the root chakra, and this is basically our foundation. And so this is called Muladhara chakra, and it connects to our lower body, our feet, our legs, our tailbone, all of that. And it's all about being grounded. It's about stability, having a will to live, self-preservation, our right to be here. And it can be related to anxiety, right? You might be an anxious person if your root chakra is not yet healed. You might also have a tricky relationship with food and having eating disorders. Maybe you don't trust people naturally, or you have issues with money, whether it's greed, hoarding, financial difficulty. Maybe you have poor boundaries or rigid boundaries. You're chronically disorganized, you're indecisive, you're easily overwhelmed. These are all signs of a weak or imbalanced or blocked root chakra. And there's different things that could help, which I'm going to get more into over the course of this month. So one of my podcast guests I'm having later this month, her name is Mary Tilson. She's an amazing sober coach and yoga teacher and runs retreats. And we had a deep conversation about having a deeper connection to the natural world. And that's a huge part of balancing the root chakra. Being physical activity, hatha yoga, reflecting on our relationships with our parents. These are all things that can help us get grounded and balance our root chakra. The second chakra is the sacral chakra, and this is connected to the element of water. And so this is all about kind of our reproductive organs, our pelvic region. It's connected to the spleen, the urinary system, and when it's blocked or out of balance, we might have issues with sexuality, with intimacy, with connection, emotions. Maybe we're struggling with fertility. Maybe we don't have any creativity right now. Maybe we're struggling feeling joy and feeling pleasure. These are all problems and issues related to the sacral chakra. It's also, there's tons of different resources out there around addiction and the chakras. Like lots of different sources state different addictions are associated with different chakras. I find that most commonly, sacral chakra is referred to as being most commonly tied to addiction. However, as we know, when any chakra is out of balance, we're going to respond and cope in different ways, right? And so it could be really tied to any chakra, depending on what's going on with you. And this chakra could be brought into balance through movement, working on boundaries, spending time near water, the ocean, the beach. developing awareness of our senses, paying attention to the senses, thinking about developing a loving acceptance of our body, appreciating and embracing moving easily, effortlessly, sexuality and pleasure. All of these things are connected to this chakra, the sacral chakra. And on the note of like accepting our body, I've been thinking a lot about this, and I was actually speaking about it last night and earlier today. Is I love this new technology of using this camera and having this amazing upgraded podcast. But one of the things that I'm very self-conscious about in doing it is like, because it's a really high quality camera, you can now see like the texture of my skin and all of these acne scars that I have. And when I used to do podcasts and yoga photo shoots and everything, because the camera is a bit further away, you don't have as close up a view of my skin and my face. And I was actually reading the other day that there's a higher association right now of suicide risks with young teenage girls because of all the filters we're seeing on social media, right? All of the pictures of people, all of the images of what we think people look like those are not real people, right? My skin doesn't look that smooth in real life. Like, that's been filtered, that's been photoshopped. Even when I make a TikTok video, all the skin naturally has this blur that you don't even set on it that makes your skin look smoother. But the thing is, like, if we aren't showing ourselves as we really look or presenting ourselves as real, that's going to create this divide for us where we think that our face should look one way. And then when we suddenly get on camera and we're like, boom, we're looking at ourselves close up and we're like, boom, I'm not loving the way my face looks right now, right? We're going to have this disconnect. And any and all of these disconnects can add up to and be the cause of a problem with alcohol, right? We're not feeling good about ourselves, then maybe we start numbing that out with alcohol, and then it just gets worse and worse. And so circling into the sacral chakra and balancing the sacral chakra, we want to just embrace our body as it is, develop an acceptance of our body and appreciate that, you know, it's this beautiful body that we've been born into, and there's nothing wrong or right with the way it looks. Like, we're all just comparing to these unrealistic beauty standards. The third chakra that we want to bring into balance is our solar plexus. And this one is really, really important for women especially. So our solar plexus, or our sacral chakra, is all about stepping into our inner power, stepping into our inner strength. And this is why I think that it's really important to have women's only recovery communities that are separate from men. And the reason why is because I personally don't have a lot of 12-step experience. I've never been to AA. I don't know what it's like to step inside those rooms. But actually, I tried to go a couple weeks ago and no one showed up at the meeting, not even the leader. So I just went home. The point is that from what I understand about 12-step and AA, the whole concept is about giving up our power, right? 12-step and AA was designed by white men and for white men. And the original AA and 12-step actually didn't allow women to enter. It didn't allow ethnic minorities to enter. LGBT people couldn't enter, right? It was just for white men. And so this whole idea of giving up your power, which is a huge part of the AA philosophy, is actually really great because it's like breaking down the patriarchy, right? Breaking down white supremacy, breaking down these men that have so much power and making them release some of that and become humble and start to see others as their equal. However, is that what women really need in a recovery setting? Do women need to go in and apologize to everyone and release their power and let all of that go and make themselves smaller? Like, I personally don't think so. I think sobriety for women needs to be about making ourselves bigger. It's about empowering ourselves to take up space, to speak our mind, to speak our truth, to speak up for ourselves, to be confident, to try new things, you know, to put ourselves out there, like making a podcast, making a yoga business. That is what sobriety should be all about for women. It shouldn't be getting smaller. It should be getting bigger. And that is why I think balancing this chakra is a really important aspect of our emotional sobriety journey. So this chakra is all about social roles, self-control, assertiveness, power, self-esteem, self-confidence. And when it's not in balance, we might have digestive issues, we might have shame, we might have apathy, chronic fatigue, low self-esteem. We might have an obsession with power. And how can we bring this chakra into balance? I like to do a lot of core strengthening yoga. I do boxing as well. I think different practices outside of yoga are really important. Like maybe you like to run or spin, just figuring out what those things are. Choosing challenges, taking risks, stress relief, vigorous exercise, martial arts, these can all help you release and balance that chakra. And then an affirmation might be, I honor the power within me. Okay, the fourth chakra is the Anahata chakra, and this is the heart chakra. And this chakra in particular is a really good one because it is the bridge between the inner world and the outer world. So it's the fourth chakra, it's the color green, and it is the element of air. And it's physically associated with our heart, our lungs, our upper back, our thymus, our blood, and our skin, and the sense of touch. And what are its issues? Love, compassion, empathy, tolerance, intimacy, openness, healing, the right to love and be loved. And when it's out of balance, we might feel grief, depression, pessimism. So anyone that's had a broken heart, this is the heart chakra shutting down, right? Maybe as a young kid, an adult in your life died. Maybe you went through a breakup or a heartbreak as a teenager and the pain was so big that your heart chakra just shut down. Maybe you are grieving the loss or the change of yourself as like a party girl. I know a lot of people go through that where they're grieving this transition, right? That's the heart chakra. And if we have depression, often we will be treating that with alcohol, and then it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy and this cycle that never stops. Because we're feeling depressed, so then we drink alcohol, which is a depressant, and then we get more depressed. So how can we bring this chakra into balance? So this chakra can be helpful to journal, therapy, emotional release related to grief, forgiveness, your inner child. You want to balance your whole thoracic cavity, so your upper body, the front, the back, the sides, the neck, the chest. So when I teach heart chakra themed classes, they're often about opening the heart and doing big back bends. Taking care of others, listening to music that touches your heart. Maybe going for massage or giving massage. I know me and Khaled, who is my friend who we run this yoga and hypnotherapy class every Sunday together on Zoom. We were talking about how we were both feeling really low mentally. And he actually sent me a voice note saying, Alex, you have to go for a massage. It's going to help you so much. So I'm actually probably going to end up going for a massage later today after I record all of these episodes for you. And breathing exercises. So our heart chakra is associated with our lungs, and often we are not breathing deeply enough, right? So let's pause in the middle of this podcast episode. I want you to just close your eyes if you feel safe and comfortable to do so, or settle your gaze, and let's just take 5 deep breaths. And I just want you to pause and see if that energetically shifted you. I was actually feeling kind of low today, kind of tired. And just by pausing and taking 5 deep breaths, I already feel better. Keep your eyes closed, or you might lightly bring them to open. So there's 3 more secrets for staying sober, and those 3 more secrets you probably already guessed are the upper chakras. So we have Vishuddha, which is at the throat. And this is our 5th chakra. This is the color blue. It's associated with our throat, our neck, our shoulders, our mouth. And it's all about communication, finding our voice, intuition, creativity, listening, the right to speak and be heard. Goals are communication, expression, creativity. Problems can be stiff neck, shoulder problems, sore throat, colds, even hearing problems. So how can we bring this chakra into balance? We can loosen our neck and our shoulders, and I do a lot of that in my yoga classes. We can practice journaling and just write whatever you think of, whatever comes to mind, just write it all out. Tell our stories, practice telling our stories. Learning another language, and that's something that I've been doing while I've been here in Indonesia. I've been taking Bahasa Indonesian lessons, and it's so hard. I think I've learned nothing. I don't know a lot of the words. I still cannot even communicate or have a conversation. But it's just this practice of learning a new way to express yourself that's so valuable. The practice of silence. We speak a lot about this in yoga, and in yoga teacher trainings, you'll often have teachers participating in a silent week or students doing a silent week where they do Vipassana meditation, where they're not speaking. I know Elizabeth Gilbert does this in Eat, Pray, Love. Also the practice of singing, chanting, using mantras, maybe being part of a choir. These can all help your throat chakra. The 6th chakra is the Ajna chakra, or the third eye, and this is connected to our eyes, our senses, our forehead, our brow, our face, sinuses, and it's connected to the hormonal system and the nervous system. And this is connected to insight, intuition, visualization, self-knowledge, our dreams. And when it's out of balance, we might feel like life is meaningless. We might have persistent anxiety and depression, difficulty imagining things. Maybe you can't hear your inner guide or your inner voice, or you only hear it very faintly. Maybe you can't find your path or purpose in life. You have a hard time concentrating. You have scattered thoughts. Maybe you got a lot of headaches and sinus problems, have problem with your eyes or your vision. Maybe you're striving for your higher self. These are all senses of a imbalanced imbalanced third eye chakra. And this is something that I think I was going through as I read through it. I think about the time period in my life when I was married and was, wanting to leave that marriage so badly, but not really sure where I was going or what I was doing. That's all associated with this third eye chakra. So how can we bring it into balance? We can keep a dream journal. We can fantasize, reading fairy tales. We can practice guided visualizations. Hypnosis. We have a hypnotherapist, Khaled, who works with the Mindful Life practice. And hypnotherapy, I swear, changed my life. I've talked about it in some earlier episodes. It was a transformative experience. So I highly recommend, if you're really struggling with some third eye out of balance, hypnotherapy is something that I would encourage checking out. Therapy in general can be helpful, right? Talking about what's going on, writing, creating visual art, maybe reading yoga philosophy, getting into yoga philosophy. These can all help with the third eye. And some manifestation practices, some affirmations like I can manifest my vision, I'm open to the wisdom within, I'm in touch with my inner life. These can all be beautiful affirmations. Okay, the 7th secret to staying sober is balancing or connecting with the crown chakra. So the crown chakra is the very last at the top of the head, and it's connected to our pituitary gland, our cerebral cortex, our central nervous system. And the central nervous system has a deep connection to our yoga practice, by the way. Like virtually all of the health benefits that we get from our yoga practice are from the nervous system and the nervous system benefits. So our yoga practice helps us transition from chronic stress or fight or flight to rest and digest through the nervous system. So we shift from the sympathetic nervous system, which is go, 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 into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is more rest and digest and calming. And this is a real association with that crown chakra, with the 7th chakra. So what are some issues with this chakra? When it's out of balance, we might struggle with our belief systems, with our understanding information and knowledge. We might be bored, apathetic, unable to learn, depressed, confused. And so feeling trapped in the material world, feeling a sense of openness, lacking joy in life, feeling tired and worn out, difficulty making decisions. These are all imbalances of the crown chakra. And what can help? Meditation, spirituality, stillness, spiritual discipline, studying and learning, and maybe some affirmations like the light nourishes me. I am open to new ideas. The world is my teacher. I'm guided by a higher power. These can all be connected to the crown chakra. So how does this all tie into sobriety? So it's my belief that the issue with alcohol is not a symptom, it's a symptom, it's not a cause. And in order for us to change our relationship with alcohol, we have to get to the root of the issue. And that's why I've developed this framework called the Soul-Aligned Framework for Sobriety. And the framework is used in many ways. The way that I use it is in my 30-day and 60-day challenge to help people really get to the root of what's going on with their lives. So ranking their well-being from 1 to 10 for each item on this wheel. And then we get an opportunity to evaluate where we need change, right? So we start with our relationship with alcohol. How is our relationship with booze? How would we like it to change? How can we manage our triggers? And then the second section is the root chakra. How is our health of well-being? Are we as active as we would like? How can we increase our physical activity? The sacral chakra is the third, and this connects to our joy, our pleasure, our romantic relationships. So is there joy in our lives? Are we satisfied in our romantic relationships? We have the core chakra. This connects to our physical environment, our work, our finances. Is our physical environment as clean as we like? Are we happy where we live and work? What's our work situation like? How's our financial situation? How's our money? The heart chakra is 5th, and this is all about family and friends and love. Are we satisfied with our relationship with our family members? Do we feel content with our circle of friends? How is our practice of self-love? The throat chakra is the home of our authentic selves, and this is where we speak our truth, right? So when we get to this chakra in my courses, we look at creative expression and living our authentic truth. The third eye chakra is the home of our inner guru, and during this part of the program, we look at am I truly living my purpose? And the crown chakra is the home of mental health and spirituality. So we look at our mental well-being and also our spiritual lives. So I love this model, and I think that these truly are the 7 secrets for staying sober. And if you get courageous and open-minded about looking at these chakras and seeing them not as a definite physical thing that exists within your body, but just a framework. It's like a framework for development. And through this, you can be guided to reflect and learn inwards and see what's really going on. And at the end of the day, exploring this and learning more about yourself is going to help you stay sober because it's going to help you uncover the reasons why you drink. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode. If you're curious about how all of this lines up, all of this adds up, as I mentioned in the episode, I do have 30-day and 60-day challenges, which really dive deep into this framework. So that's a perfect thing to do if you're new on the sober journey and you're trying to kind of find your way. I highly recommend checking out these 30-day, 60-day challenges. If you're not quite ready yet to sign up for 30 days, you can just do a free 7-day challenge. I'm going to pop the link in the episode description. And I also go into deep in this in my yoga teacher trainings, in my Sober Girls Yoga teacher training, which is starting this summer. And I'm going to be announcing more information about that very soon, but it's the first of its kind. Sober Girls Yoga, YTT. It's going to be super amazing. And I also wrote a book that's framed on the chakras, which I am hoping will come out soon. And I'm thinking I might read you some of the chapters for this podcast to kind of give you a sneak preview. So thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate your presence, connection, commitment. If you have any feedback for me, questions or comments or suggestions, please, if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment. I will definitely respond. I love to hear from you. If you're listening on Spotify or Audible, please leave a review and please share this show with anyone you think it would serve and benefit, because I really appreciate your support. Have a beautiful day and we will speak soon. Hi friend, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Sober Yoga Girl podcast. This community wouldn't exist without you here, so thank you. It would be massively helpful if you could subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast so it can reach more people. If we haven't met yet in real life, please come get your 1-week free trial of the Sober Girls Yoga membership and see what we're all about. Sending you love and light wherever you are in the world.